a why.
You ready? Oh, we're live? Thanks for the countdown. Good morning, Signature.
Good morning.
It's been a while since I've been the one standing up here.
Yeah.
So it's good to see all your smiling faces this morning. How's breakfast?
Good.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Better than normal.
Better than normal, huh? Try the tapatio.
I haven't got it.
All right, let's start off this morning with any buyer and seller needs. Anybody? Roy.
Okay, so I have a listing in Las Quintas. It's a single story. It's on almost an acre, half an acre. It's only 1.28 and it's almost 6,000 square feet. We're doing an open house this weekend. So if you have anybody that's looking for more of like a California vibe, it's all green, it's really beautiful, call us and we'll get you in there for a private tour, okay?
All green meaning grass or
Yes, all grass, trees, everything like that. That's a good point, thanks.
You feel like you're not even in Vegas.
You really do.
I have a Vegas, one single story home with box grass, looking to a wash of a sale here in Summerlin. It's a 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, 2,000 square feet. It has a beautiful backyard, private, no neighbors behind, a beautiful sale. And gated community, Stonebridge, a little bit for $9.89.
$9.89. Good deal. Anyone else? Doug? And then
No, let's not let Adam talk today. All right, so I have 2 listings. One that just went live up in Centennial Hills. So Centennial Hills is just below Providence, east of Providence, between the hospital and Providence, Centennial Hills. 2-story, 3,800 square foot, 4-bedroom, huge loft, into the cul-de-sac for the pool, $660. It's about $30,000 underpriced. It does need a little bit of TLC. But would be a great property once somebody goes in and does a couple little fixes that need challenges down there. So $660 Centennial Hills, 2-story. And then going live on Thursday, we have a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo, single-story, I-95 in Rainbow area for $175,000. Completely remodeled, granite counters, paint carpet, ready to someone to take it over. So it should be good for $175,000.
very good. You're here first.
We've got a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath house down Boulder Highway, great investment opportunity, $269,900, needs a lot of love, and it's a probate one, so.
Nice. Anyone else?
Nice to
Going? Gone. All right, so let's bring Janet up. We got some stuff from Janet. And then
What first?
You're first, let's go.
Okay.
Give it up, Janet.
Okay, we're running out of order here. So first of all, I'd like to bring up Ellie, who's going to talk about something very, very special.
Thank you. I'm going to talk to you about our VA rep. VA rep is holding a skinny drive. We are trying to collect underwear, toiletries for adult veterans. So anything, I put a box out there, anything at all you can bring, toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, underpants, undershirts, anything at all, those type of essentials. Believe it or not only veterans, but there are active members of the military right now here in Nellis and Creech that are struggling to put food on the table. So if we at least give them some underwear, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So we're doing it through the end of this month. I committed our office to getting 100 pair. I think we could easily do 100 pair of underwear. Okay.
And it must be in package.
What's that?
It
Yeah, please get the package, yes, not you, just you. Thank you.
So if I have
You can bring them in, there's a box up front. You can also drop them off at, I'll leave these flags, because an office closer, Brad Wolf is collecting them also. Over in, I think Southern House, I'm not sure where his office is at. But yeah, here, Mark Martinez over at Fairway Mortgage, and Brad Wolf, at Life Realty. Thank you, Janet.
Welcome. Let me just give you a little hint. Participated in a lot of toiletry drives. Go to the 99-cent or the dollar store, you get men's underwear for 99 cents. Really good underwear, or so I've been told. And so, if you want to give me money, and it adds up to $100, I'll go buy 100 pair after work today. So just let me know that.
Is this for male as well as female?
Yes.
Preference?
Adults, it's adult.
Adult, okay.
Adults, yes.
Men and women.
Men and women, okay.
There are women.
Okay, so I'm up here to talk about a program that NAR has called C2EX, Commitment to Excellence. It was started back in 2019, and it's been a big push by NAR, but it hasn't really taken off. And so now they've spiced up the program in the fact that they're having challenges among the different regions and within the different regions, with in November a $5,000 something or another is going to be presented to the leading association with the largest percentage of members who are C2EX certified. It's a course. Right now, the #1 region with the most agents is Guam and the Mariana Islands. Nevada is #3. Thanks to the North, who have taken this project on seriously. So I'm going to put together dates and times, and it's basically a computer program, and we're going to have classes here. We're going to do it all together, so you go, God, why don't I know the answer to this? Because somebody will know it. And here's the other thing. If you take this course and you get certified, you also get your credit for your triennial ethics training, which is due right here on the board by December 31st of 24. So I brought in my dear friend, Stephanie Grant. Come on up, Stephanie. Stephanie has been taking the program. It's online. She hasn't finished yet, but she is aware of the ins and outs of the program. And Stephanie is also better known as the LVR treasurer. So Stephanie is all yours.
Thank you. Watching all your monies.
Show us the money.
Try to keep those dues down as well. Good morning. How is everyone?
Great.
Great.
So who has heard of this program, C2EX? Who is endorsed so far, has completed theirs? Yeah, me neither. I'm still working on mine. So what it is, I'm going to just read to you verbatim. Show your clients your commitment to conducting business at the highest professional standards. Earn your CE2X endorsement today. www.c2ex.realtor if you want to jot that down. www.c2ex.realtor. So that's commitment to excellence. It is an NAR endorsement, as Janet had said. So have you signed on to your NAR site? Who has signed on to the NAR Realtor page? If you haven't, that's where you need to sign on to, or you can just go through the link that I just gave you, but it's going to revert you back to NAR to sign on, set up your profile, and then get that started. So what it is, it's different modules. So you can cheat your way through, or you can actually do it the correct way, and I know here they're going to do it the correct way.
We're going to do it together.
I know, yes. So it's a self-paced online endorsement, and there's about, I think, maybe 8 modules. So in each module, it's going to give you assignments. Yeah, you can click and say, I've done the assignment, but what's the point of taking it? So if you go through it, complete the assignments, then they move you on to the next module for that. As Janet had mentioned, once you complete it, that goes towards your ethic trainings. And also, who here has their At Home with Diversity certificate? Has anyone heard of the At Home with Diversity
Yes, a lot of us are
certificate?
going to be taking it on June 13th.
Okay.
It is, it's all day and it's 7 hours.
7 hours of ethics training. That bumped me over my renewal. Who's renewing their license this year? Yeah, 7 hours of ethics training if you take that at home with diversity. And then that at home with diversity national certificate helps you as well with C2EX endorsement. They've been doing some changes. So if you take that, that will also wipe away a few of the modules that you don't have to take. Who has been through the Fair Housing training, also on NER? Last month was Fair Housing Month, the month of April, and they have Fair Housing training that you can go through every month. So there is a, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. There is an implicit bias simulation. There is another video that they want you to watch on Fair Housing where they actually go through different examples from Realtors and their clients of what they're doing. So if you can jump online and do that as well, that also helps you towards completing your C2EX endorsement. So we're trying to get as many people, a lot of people don't know about it. We were at in DC 2 weeks ago for our mid-year legislative meetings, and I went up to the booth at the expo for C2EX, and I said, I want to know if Nevada has an ambassador. And they're like, yeah, no, Nevada does not have one. So we were able to get one done, which is Sarah. She is the president of the Reno Sparks Association up north. So she is our ambassador for Nevada up north. But you do have to complete your C2EX in order to be an ambassador, and we can hopefully get one down here in the south as well. So what you'll do is you will log in, it will give you your different modules, you will go through the assignments. Some of them, they want you to actually upload proof, so of course if you complete your at home with diversity or other things, you just upload that, and it will move you to the next one. They give you some tasks, they give you some like real life situations where you would go through and answer the questions, things like that. But it's really just helping you to be more of a professional in this industry. How many of you have dealt with unprofessionals in this industry? I'm sure a lot of you have. I have as well. I am a practicing realtor, and it's interesting working with other clients. I try to, do my best. Sometimes we have to work both sides to get the deal done, right? Because we have to look out for our clients and make sure we get them to the closing table. So this will only help you. It will increase your business. It will increase your relationships with your clients. And I do hope you guys get on board, and let's see if we can move Nevada up to number 1.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Now, I will tell you, I will look at the calendar, figure out a time that the training room is available for. Stephanie, what would you say, an hour at a time to go through the module, 30 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, it's self-paced, but if you do like at least an hour, if you don't finish it, you can just finish it on your own. But if you do like an hour a day, you can at least get it started. And then who finishes it, because we have those that went through school a little quicker than others. I was a little slower, but I still got it done on my own time. So once you finish that hour, if they're not done, then we can just finish it at home.
Okay, so we'll set it up for an hour a week, and if you sign up, there's still slots available. I want to say it's June 13th is all day at home with diversity. You get your certification, which will put you through this. I've signed up for it, so I'm going to be out of the office all day. Don't call me. And it is $100, but it's also 7 hours of CE. Now, I didn't realize what a big deal this C2EX was, or is, until we went to Washington, D.C. And we have to wear little lanyards with our name on it and where we're from, and you get to list all your designations on your name tag. You can't get in any meeting or any event without your little name tag around your neck. But those people who had completed C2EX also had a colorful little ribbon attached to their lanyard. So it's a big deal. NAR is really pushing it this year. Teresa McKee, the CEO for the state, is really pushing it. So,
Sorry, I forgot one more thing.
oh sure. So I will let you know when we're going to start meeting. You will need a laptop.
Yes.
Can you do it on an iPad?
I'm sure, yeah.
Yes, you can do it on yourself.
Yeah.
Or you can do, if your eyes are better than mine, you can do it on your cell phone, according to Brandon.
Yes. So sorry. So our current NAR president, Leslie
Rhoda Smith.
Rhoda Smith. Why? Leslie go to Smith. She is asking all of those that are in leadership positions. So all of our committee members, our board members, state leaders, anyone that's in leadership positions to complete this so at least we can be an example and push this through. So I also have received commitment from my committee members and the state chair for our diversity and inclusion committee to please complete this year so at least we can now push this out to other committees, local and state, and get everybody involved. So also for NAR, because you are an NAR committee member, you as well, Brendan? Yeah, so NAR committee members, we all are NAR committee members. They are asking us, especially for those that have submitted for a 2023 position, to complete this as well, so that we can, show to our members that we are definitely taking this profession seriously. Okay, now I'm done.
Thank you, Stephanie. And just one more thing, if you give me money, I swear to not even go home because there's a 99-cent store right on the corner of Tropicana and Fort Apache that I drive right by, and I'll go buy skivvies and toiletries. Now, our fearless leader, Brandon.
Thank you, Janet. All right, so we got to step up and really knock the C2EX out of the park, because the only person that I'm aware of in signature that's actually done is Tom Blanchard. Okay. You gotta let Tom out, dude. Come on. All right. He works hard. All right. The other thing is that the diversity training, there is one coming up, like Janet said. I believe it's being taught by Lee Barrett. We're also going to be pushing out a second one this year, towards the end of the year, and we're working on an out-of-town trainer from Colorado. If you know who that is, she's amazing. So 2 opportunities to get that. So I will probably be attending the one at the end of the year because I'm committed to doing it. So, and the pressure is on. All right. So with that being said, I've made her wait long enough and stress over this. I got Myra Talley coming up from Prosperity Lending to give you your mortgage update. Give it up for Myra.
Happy Tuesday. I actually have some pretty exciting news to share today. So we have a new program. It's called Home Simple. And what this program allows are pre-qualified buyers, so pre-qualified and submitted through underwriting without a property, to put in cash offers on a home. So All Western Prosperity Lending, All Western, the company that we are, will basically buy that house in cash, and then at the same time that house is in cash, the buyer is getting pre-qualified, is going through the actual transaction. So it's like a 2-step process, so that it gives them competitive edge to make in that cash offer, get accepted, but at the same time, they're going through their conventional financing to get approved. So the company only charges $500. The buyer does have to pay the closing costs on both transactions. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It is done, they do have to be cautious because it is a cash offer, it is done as is. They can waive the appraisal. However, when the cash transaction closes, the appraisal comes in short, the buyer would still be responsible to pay that difference, just like any other loan. So, we do have to verify their assets. We run kind of like a comp to make sure value is kind of what the buyer, so that they're not doing anything crazy. It is conventional financing only and up to conforming loan limits only. So the loan cannot be in for any more than $647,200. Although the maximum purchase price right now is going to be about $1 million, the buyer just has to put in, that gap to bring it down to conforming loan limits. So it's pretty exciting. Just another thing to offer to get these clients' offers accepted.
So I don't understand the step where Prosperity Western's buying this property, or going to give this buyer cash for this property without an appraisal. Because you said the appraisal is going to be done later.
Yeah, so they'll do internal, it's called an ADM. So they'll do that, it's almost like comps. So they'll see if that area is within those comps, they'll say, okay. But again, it's the buyer has to No,
So
that
they
if it
should-
comes in lower, they have to pay the difference.
So logically, they should do it immediately, don't you think?
They can order it, yeah. So
Just
it
to
can
make sure.
close, so that first cash transaction can close as quick as, as legally possible. But, if it takes 2 weeks or whatever the case is, that's fine. For
I
them to do
actually
that.
did one on the listing side, and I won't tell you the company, because I think they were pretty much the first to do that. It's very new to me. I think I even talked to you, Brandon, about it, or I talked to some broker, because it was like, what? And I talked to the lender, and just so you know, it went really, really smooth.
Yeah.
And there was just like no hitches, it was just perfect.
Yeah, because, when the buyer gets pre-qualified, it's one thing for us just to review their items and just to pre-approve them. But this is actually going through underwriting. So once they have that fully underwritten approval, all the verifications of employment, all that stuff is in. So they're doing all that. Once they have that, then they can go ahead and make that cash offer. And then as soon as that offer gets accepted, we're already starting to close that purchase. So we want to close within 30 days of that accepted offer.
What happens, Myra, if the buyer default loses his job the day before they close, he can't close on his new loan?
Well,
You're stuck with the house.
yeah, they're stuck with the house. Worst
Who's they?
case scenario.
Western.
Yeah.
You're stuck, yeah.
Yeah, our company, so worst case scenario, they're just gonna turn around and flip it. It's home simple, actually, it's not all Western, but it is specifically only to anybody who qualifies with prosperity lending, so it is only, at this time, home simple is only going through our company.
Gotcha.
Makes your offer strong, Mr. Cash.
So, real quick,
Yeah,
I want to buy a house, I get pre-qualified with you, and before I go out and find a house, you're gonna give me cash, and I say, okay.
yeah,
here's the
well,
cash
it's not
offer.
really cash, so that offer is gonna go into home simple, like, the contract is gonna go into home simple's name, the cash offer. But, once that gets
I
accepted,
see.
then you have another offer in your name that's gonna go through just like a normal transaction.
I got you, okay, gotcha. So you're like the investor, okay.
Yeah, basically.
Gotcha.
It's like an assignee, it's assigned to,
Interesting.
Two closings, so record twice.
Yeah, it'll record twice. And then again, they want to do it, they don't want it to take any longer than 30 days. If it has to go a few days, I believe they'll do like a 15-day extension type of thing. But the sooner we can get that transaction to close, the better. And then,
Myra, buyer is pre-approved through underwriting, not pre-qual.
correct, pre-approved through underwriting. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Myra. Give it up for Myra. So why would you want to do that?
better compete.
Right? How many of you have been in multiple offers with your buyers and lost out to the cash buyer? Happens all the time, right? So this is the way that you can get your buyer into a cash buyer position. And so another answer to the appraisal, yes, it'd be awesome you have it, but typically the cash deal is not contingent on what? Appraisal, so-
For the fact for his loan, so,
Yeah, no, I get it. So there's some risks, but this is, and some costs, but again, it actually may save them, because if you've been trying to get into a property over the past year and property value has gone up how much, right? How much money could they have saved if they could have gone into that property last year or even 6 months ago? So it's a good option to have in your tool bag and something to be talking with your buyers about that are getting frustrated with multiple offers. But with that being said, we're going to talk about the market today. But before we get to that, you guys know there was some new forms released last month?
Yep.
What forms? No?
Repair request.
Repair request was?
And,
Smart.
the HOA,
Resale package.
yeah, resale bag, I just noticed.
Right. All right, so there was some forms. So form releases happen twice a year. And I know over the past couple of years, it's gotten a little out of control where they seem like they're coming out all the time. But ultimately, the board wants to release forms to us twice a year, once in April and once in October. Now, the only exception to that would be something like this next year, we're going to a legislative session. If there's a law that changes that makes something not legal in one of our forms, or there's an emergency, then we would push something out sooner. But otherwise, it's once a year. So one of the things was done, the wire fraud notification was updated. Okay, your purchase receipt of the common interest community resale package. That was redone. You have a whole different look
Don't have a.
on that. You don't have to initial a million times, right? Buyer's notice disclosure was done, changes to buyer notice disclosure form or more for housekeeping. The link is, so all these forms are in transaction desk already. Here, put the glasses on. That's what happens when you get old. Even gotta update my prescription, it's getting real bad. Okay, hey, it's a smart home disclosure guide. How many of you use the smart home disclosure? It's been out for a while, right? But we did some updates to it. Smart technology is here to stay, right? As long as we have internet, we're gonna have homes that talk to us. And they're becoming more and more. What are some of the devices that could be on a smart home?
Door lock.
Door locks, refrigerators, your dishwasher, your ring doorbell, your ceiling fans, your garage door openers, your pool equipment, your watering system. Almost anything in your home can be on it now.
Anything that plugs in, or it takes a battery.
Yeah. Anything that connects to Wi-Fi for sure. How many of you have sold a home and when you've done that, your buyer can't access any of the stuff? Right? So this is an attempt to get ahead of that, right? And that. So utilize that as a big deal. Solar is a big deal. We've got a couple things coming out that came out on solar. A solar information property authorization. That's similar to your mortgage authorization or HOA to be able to get information. So your seller is basically signing and saying, hey, I authorize Ellie to get information on the transfer of my solar. How many have done a solar transaction? Who thought it was easy?
Mine was easy because it was paid off.
Paid off is good, right?
It was good.
It was very easy.
We have problems with that. You guys, if you get into a solar transaction, please get with the broker to make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. We're going to see more and more lawsuits based on this, and a lot of it has for the transferability of the equipment. People are signing in leases, they're purchasing, and it's not always easy for the buyer to take that over, or it may not even be possible. I mean, I've heard scenarios like if they're not owner occupied, they can't take it over.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of different things out there. So get ahead of solar before you get on the market or right at the beginning so that when you get an offer, you're prepared, okay? We also have a solar panel addendum where I actually have something now to kind of address some of these things. So take your sellers through that. There's a key release receipt and obviously the repair for request. But if you go through these forms and you have any issues, please get with myself and one of the brokers to help you understand them. Yes?
The smart home disclosure, is it something that the destination has to provide or the buyers need to?
So, good question. When you sit down with your seller and take that listing, you should be getting that filled out. As a buyer, when you write the real estate purchase agreement, there's a section in there where you should mark, I want a copy of the smart home disclosure. So you're requesting it and you're providing it to the seller. Okay? Any other questions on those? Perfect. All right, so let's talk about, I'll give you a couple, let's talk about the market. All right, what's going on out there?
Seems like there's more listings coming out.
More listings, so the listing inventory is growing.
The prices are still high.
Prices are what?
Still high.
They're still high, prices are still high.
Interest rates in the market.
Interest rates are up, 4 days on the market.
Crane prices dropped a little bit.
Investors have.
What prices?
Could we agree that there's things in the mix that suggest the market's going to change?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so when we start looking at statistics, the board puts out statistics on a monthly basis. And so as president, like me, I get to shoot a video that talks about the stats. They're also released, you can pull them up. Applied analysis puts them in our single sign-on. You should be watching those things. But typically what happens is we're getting April stats the first part of May, right? So we're looking at last month. So you're looking at that, you can start to see some trends based on the statistics. But how can you know ahead of the statistics if things are going to change?
Interest rates.
You guys are in the field, you see it, right? Do you see as many offers on listings as you did?
Nope.
It's still competitive though, right?
Yep.
But you're seeing less.
Yes. Depends on the price point.
Depends on the price point, right?
Realtors are inviting you to the open houses.
Realtors are starting to invite you back to open houses. These are all signs that you're gonna start seeing that suggest that there's a change in the market. See, years ago, I had an office in Salt Lake, and we just moved into a new space, and we did this grand opening. I remember standing there and overlooked, was on the third floor and overlooked this waterfall. And I remember standing there with my dad. And my dad said to me, be careful, things can change. What goes up must come down. And I thought, man, can't he just be happy? Can't he just be happy for it? And within 13 months, just over a year, what happened? The Great Recession. And it came crashing hard, didn't it? And so one of the things a mentor of mine, Bob McKinnon, said is, things are happening, you need to get your stuff in order, right? He said, the first thing you should do, and he's talking to the brokers, the first thing you should do is actually go back and start renegotiating all your contracts. Like, what I mean is your lease and stuff like that. Get prepared, get all that stuff in order. The next thing you should do is get your butts back out there and sell. Start bringing in some income. And he was right. And I don't think necessarily it's going to be that devastating, but we are going to have a change. And we're seeing it on the board level with less people, with membership dropping. Why would membership drop for realtors?
Because they can't.
They can't sell. They're using order takers.
How many of you had a banner year during COVID? A banner year. Who sold a lot of property during COVID? Who struggled? Who's not going to raise their hand no matter what? There were people, there were agents in our industry that basically said during COVID it was the worst. Like, they didn't make any money, it was horrible, right? They didn't leave their house, they didn't figure it out. Right, and then there was other people that stepped up and filled that void and sold a lot of homes. Prices went up, commissions went up, there was a lot of money to be made. When the market shifts, we're still going to have home sales. See, it's one of the reasons we're in real estate is why. There's always a need to buy and sell. People get married, people get divorced, people die, people get job transfers. There's always going to be something. Now, when there's more inventory, it takes longer to sell listings, so then you're looking and going, great, I got a buyer, I can control my income. When we were just in the market we were, or are, the seller's market, when you had a listing, that was gold, right? You could control your income, you knew you were getting a check.
Buyer, not so much.
Buyer, not so much. You had to work harder to get that, right? But the market changes, and we look at that, right? When you were, during the recession, if you had an REO account, that was gold, right? You had an influx of listings that was coming in. What was another opportunity that was during the recession?
Short sale.
Short sale. Somebody, Todd, saw that opportunity and jumped on. He was one of the top short sellers here in the valley, weren't you? Worked your butt off, right?
I thought Jane Armstrong was.
Jane moved.
I know, she was good.
But yeah, she did a lot of them too. So there was a lot of that going on. There was a lot of designations. There was a lot of things that were leading up to that. Do you know that the REO conferences are starting back up? What does that mean?
They want money coming from parents.
They may want money from you, but there could be opportunity coming. And, you know, when I look at it and go, well, there's a lot of equity in property and there's all this stuff. I also know that people, when they get underwater, put their heads in the sand, and rather than acting on it, will let it go.
Just give up.
Right? And so there will be opportunities for that kind of stuff. So be open to the different stuff. How do you survive in a changing market?
Yeah.
You adapt, you gotta work. So Bob McKinnon told me, go start selling stuff. I'm telling you, now's the time to work harder. Now's the time to really start looking at ways that you can generate more money, take better care of your clients, get better at your listing presentation, get better at your listing presentation, get better at your buyer's presentation, work with a buyer-broker agreement. I mean, it's time to get better at your skills, because the ones that do are going to be the ones that survive, right? I want to bring up Tony. and this is a surprise shock to him, and I want to bring up Todd. Todd had a little forewarning. But I just want to get some perspective of other people that are in this industry as well, to give you their perspective. Todd manages the office, manages a team, and also sells, right? And so he's going to have a perspective. Tony's in the lending industry. He's going to have a perspective. And I'm not actively out selling as much. Like, I'll do a deal here and there, but now I don't have to because the second generation's in the business. So, but I see it on a regular basis because I get to deal with what? I get to deal with the problems, the issues, right? So why don't we start here with Tony? Give me your perspective on the market now that rates have gone up and what you see.
Good morning, everyone. Well, I think it's no secret. I mean, there's a ton of information out there, some of it conflicting. But the majority of articles or feedback that I've received is that we're going to continue to see rates rise, at least through the next few months. And in all honesty, although people would like to avoid the word, the best case scenario from the standpoint of the market, or with regard to interest rates, is if we actually go into recession. Because at that point, they will be forced to reduce interest rates to get credit for it again. That's how they'll restart the economy. Now, again, there's a lot of water under the bridge between now and then, but I've been told that the latest prognosis or estimate that I've heard when that period might take place was October, November of this year. That might be a best case scenario, but that's the kind of time frame I believe we're looking at.
Okay. So recession could be on the forefront. Why do they raise rates? They raise rates to curb the inflation, right? To try to do that. So, Todd, what's your perspective on the market? Where do you see it going? Pull out your crystal ball.
So for me, I spend a lot of time looking at statistics and numbers. That's kind of one of my joys of the business is I like the numbers. I spent some time looking at the numbers that just came out on the 7th, which were for, what were they? May numbers. And one thing I paid real close attention to was the inventory, because I think inventory is always an indicator of kind of where is the market going and what should we expect. If you look at the one sign-on page, if you go look at the applied analysis and you pull up the inventory numbers, there's a chart that will take you back to 2012. Okay, so 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way up to 22. If you look at each year, if you take each year and you kind of lay them on top of each other, our inventory as a whole, excluding 1 year, all of those years, looks almost exactly the same. It goes up, it goes down, the same times, the same amounts each year. We typically run about the same pattern. What I'll tell you so far for this year is we're on pattern. The pattern still looks pretty close to the same. So the fear for me, people go, oh, inventory's going up, here comes the crash. Well, inventory always goes up this time of year. It always goes up a little bit each month all the way through mid-summertime, right? It doesn't really start to decline again until October. And so the fact that we're seeing inventory go up doesn't scare me. I think it's healthy. I'm inviting. I've been telling everybody for 3 or 4 months, if you really want to solve your problems in real estate, if you've got problems you don't know how to deal with and you want to solve them, go take a listing, or 2 or 10 or 15, because listings right now are what are going to get you through this market and get you paid, essentially. So inventory doesn't scare me going up. I hope that it goes up more than it has been, because I think that will help kind of curb what we're seeing. So here's probably where it gets a little controversial. Sorry, I don't know if Brendan expected this today, but he did warn me. So I feel like the market is, does anybody know what a vapor lock is? What's a vapor lock? Anybody can explain that? It happens in your gas line on your car. Back in the 80s when I was a kid, it was common, people would be parked on the side of the road and their car would be vapor locked, meaning that somewhere in the fuel system, it's an airlock, the line that holds the fuel got hot somewhere, and it wouldn't let the fuel pass through there, the air vapor lock right there. So you couldn't get gas to the engine. Yeah, so it wouldn't run, right? I think that's what's gonna happen in real estate for the next couple of months. Buyers are gonna pull back because interest rates have gone up. They're hearing that inventory is going up, and so they're going to start having the mentality of, oh my gosh, interest rates are up, inventory is going up, I'm gonna get a better deal in a few months. I think sellers are gonna hold position. I think sellers are gonna say, inventory might be going up a little bit, but not enough to really affect what I can get for my home. And so they're still going to be listing at a number that would be in line with what the market has been doing over the last 6 months, which I don't know if you know, but from December to currently, we've gone up about $85,000 in average sales price. The median sales price, starting in December of last year till now, we're at 475 now, right? Wasn't that the most recent?
Yep.
So we were at 395 to 390 in December. So we've gone up $85,000 in median sales price. I don't know if we can keep going up like that, but I can also tell you I don't see that it's going to actually go down. I think you might just see it settle for a few months. So if we hold at the 485 number, or if it goes down to 475, that isn't going to cause sellers to panic, in my opinion. So for me, I think we'll see a bit of a vapor lock. I think we'll see buyers kind of back off. I think we'll see sellers kind of hold their position. And I think you have an opportunity to get your buyers who are still serious about buying homes. Remember the people we talked about, the ones that are getting divorced, the ones that are getting married, the ones that have kids that are moving in and out, the ones that have had deaths, the reason they're moving, they have a reason. What is your reason for buying or selling? I have a reason, not just because I like it, because I want to, or I feel like the market is hot. If you have a buyer that has a reason to move, I think you're going to be able to get him into a house in the next 2 to 3 months. But I don't see that we're going to see this drastic change or crash in the market. And if interest rates start to go back down in October, as my buddy Tony here has predicted, and I'll be holding them to that, I think that we're going to have a pretty normal summer. That's where I think we're at.
So, not controversial at all.
Of course.
I go right along with that. What affects our market would be the affordability, right? The things that are there. And there will be sales, you just might have to work a little harder to find them. It doesn't mean it's not, I don't want you to take this as doom and gloom, the world is going to crash. I want you to take this as I'm going to be prepared in case there is a shift. Because if I prepare now, then I'm going to be in a better position. Same thing as we were coming out of the short sale market, you know, people didn't have to have a listing presentation because no seller really cared. Why didn't they care?
Because it makes no money.
Because it wasn't costing them anything anyway. But the second it starts affecting their pocketbook, things change. Now they want the best realtor, right? So just don't be fearful of the change. Embrace it and be prepared for it.
Let me, real quick, and then we'll get your question. Let me put this in perspective for you. How long does it take? What's the average time it takes a listing to sell today? 14 days? No, just to go over contract.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 14 days maybe, right?
Yeah.
That's what's going to change, guys. Listings are going to now take 30 to 45 days to go under contract. Guys, that's not tragic. We've sold houses when it takes 6 months. I mean, we take year-long listing agreements because it takes 6 or 7 months to get a house under contract, all right? So 30 to 45 days is not tragedy. Don't worry about that. Just make sure you're coaching your sellers accordingly. Don't tell them you're going to sell it in 2 or 3 days, or a week, or 14 days. Like, be careful with the average days on market moving forward for the rest of the year, because we might see that go up a bit depending on how much more interest rates rise. Okay, so that's perspective on what might change. Sorry.
What I wanted to say is that even though there are more properties in the market, the supply of merchandise for new buildings are not planning to be there.
Materials.
Material.
Correct.
So the inventory will be limited anyway.
Yeah. So the new, a lot of you may be used to the new home builders in Vegas where they go build 14 blocks of homes and not worry about whether they were sold or not. I don't think you're gonna see that happen. I think they're not gonna start building a home until they have a down payment. And the reason is because there's no workers and there's no material.
So
I think they've already started doing that.
they have. So
Yeah.
there was the president of the National Home Builders Association was on Fox Business this morning, and they asked him these questions. He says, costs are going up, costs are up over 21% nationwide. Regulatory compliance fees are going up, they're about 25% higher. There's problems with the supply chain and actually getting the stuff. Interest rates obviously have gone up. They are seeing buyers walk from the contracts now, because there was escalation clauses and stuff like that in those contracts to cover for that. And some builders were eating some of that, but it's at a point they can't. And so it's going to change, the home builders are gonna change, right? Getting that supply through until we're building. And until we get more inventory, prices should maintain relatively high.
And more is a substantial amount. It's not
Yes.
1,000 more homes.
No, it's like
much
15 million across the country. Like we need, 15 million across the country is what they're estimating. That's how much we're behind on the supply. Why are we behind on building?
I think with building in 2008, and a lot of the smaller home builders shut their doors forever.
We were overbuilt in the recession. That was part of the problem, is there was too much housing. They've stopped building for a period of time, at least at the numbers that we needed to, and now it's overcorrected. And so, till that changes. Tony?
I can speak to that directly, Brandon, at least from the lending perspective. I've lost a couple where clearly the borrowers are frustrated, putting in offers, their offer not being accepted, so they turn to the builders. I'm sure many of you have experienced the same thing. I had two that were pre-qualified, and of course, during the passage of time, the property is not completed on schedule, so by the time the property was completed, and we managed to lock in their rate, they didn't qualify. Or they decided that because the purchase price had gone up, they didn't like the payment that came with that purchase price. Okay, I'm sure you experienced the very same thing. I have one right now, we just found out they were due to close in June. They've now been given a close date, or walkthrough, I think is the expression they used, of November. So now, one alternative you have is to do an extended lock. And we're starting to see more and more of those. I think Myra's experienced this, I know I have. But a 6-month or even 12-month lock is out there. And if it means that it guarantees the borrower a specific rate, or more importantly, it means that they can still qualify for that payment, then that's probably the way to go. And I would encourage that with your lender, whoever it is. The other thing is, let me just finish this thought, then we'll go ahead. The other thing is, and I believe Shelley spoke to this last week, but people are turning more back to the adjustable rate mortgages again, the ARMs. We get an increase of, I believe, 75% in the ARMs compared to where we were a year ago. Now, there were very few adjustable rate mortgages like this time last year, I understand that. But that's still a more of a significant increase. It's going to give you a lower payment initially because fixed rates are higher. Obviously, there's an increase depending on what type of ARM and the period it's built into the ARM, but that might be an option. And then just paying discount points up front. That might be the way around it.
So just get better at your skills, understanding what's out there so that you can offer these things or consult with your clients better to keep them in the game. And then we'll go to you.
But didn't you say that the interest rate was going down?
Don't quote me on that. That's based on information I've received. I'm not the guy that paid the big bucks to make those. I was repeating what I've been told.
He was saying if there's a recession, one way to battle recession is to lower rates, to stimulate the economy. And that's what it is.
But
I think that's what's
they're raising to stop the inflation, but they might.
There's a chance that there's overcorrections, there's all kinds of stuff, but I would not sit down with your clients and say, hold tight because rates are going to come down, because Tony said
Yeah, I
so.
wouldn't do that.
Yeah, by the way, that's the adjustable rate mortgage, that's the gamble, right? You adjustable rate mortgage today because rates are up, and the gamble is that over time, the rates will go back down and you can refi out of that into a lower rate, which would keep your payment the same. and where people kind of got bit last time with them was, it was no money down, interest only, and that's not the option anymore. So it could be a viable way to get a loan right now.
Tony, just as a talking point for potential buyers, what's a ballpark ARM rate right now as opposed to what a fixed rate is right now? For somebody with good credit.
A good question. I priced one out just in the last day or two actually, because I'm doing a refinance with a client that we both know, and it was at 4.875.
That was the ARM.
Correct. Now that was on a jumbo one as well, bear in mind.
Okay.
So you're probably looking in the region of.
So that was a 5-year ARM?
This was on a 5-year ARM, correct.
Okay. And then fixed right now?
Depending, jumbo, again, fixed rates being slightly higher than adjustable right now, 5 to 5 1/8.
So there's not that big of a...
Not that big, but when you start talking about jumbo, the difference in the payment can be more substantial, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
But is it a really high interest rate, 5.5?
I got
That's not really
I got an answer for you, because the common response from a lot of realtors is, it's still a good rate as opposed to history, right? The difference is, this is the highest home prices have been. So a higher interest rate of 5% today is a lot more impact to your payment than it was, 10, 15 years ago.
So
Brandon, back in the 80s, when rates were 18%, home prices were still the highest they'd ever been.
Right, but how much was that?
But it was half.
But it's all relative.
It is relative, it is relative, but when you're saying, rates are what they were 2 years ago, suck it up, it's not the same, Mark, it's not the same. Because that rate is higher, and if we had an 18% rate today, that'd be significantly worse than it was
Because
back then.
there's no assumed loans today like there was.
Right.
The rate doesn't matter. I'm sorry, but the rate just doesn't matter. I don't care if it's 7%, I don't care if it's 9%, the rate doesn't matter, guys. What matters is you need buyers and sellers that need to move, that have a reason to move. They don't have a choice, they have to move. It doesn't matter if it's 6 or 7%, they have to move. My parents bought a house in the, maybe in the 60s. They had to move, they didn't have a choice, interest rates were astronomical, but it didn't matter.
But here's the difference, you can move and rent if you can't afford to buy. So, what he's saying is the rate doesn't matter, there will still be deals, no matter what the rate is.
Get better at your skills.
Where the rate does matter is for the person that gets priced out, right? So that changes your buyer pool a little bit. Get better at your skills and go find the ones that can buy, that are willing to sell.
Just one more thought on that, and I know I've mentioned this before, even in this meeting I've mentioned this before. Try and avoid the perception, and it is a perception, that it's all about rate. My experience has taught me, as soon as you throw a number out there, it sticks in the back of the mind. And that's never going to go away. And that could be a monthly payment, it could be a purchase price, it could be an interest rate, it could apply to any part of the transaction, closing costs. So it's a mistake to look at interest rate in isolation. A big mistake in my opinion. You have to look at the cost associated with acquiring that rate. That's more the point.
So, good point, but all they're hearing on the news, Tony, is interest rates are up.
Yeah, I understand. Everybody relates to interest rates. It's the first thing. What do you have? What do you have? Oh, I got a better deal than you. Okay, but it cost you $5,000 more to acquire that rate. Is that really a better deal? Right, come across it all the time. But numbers stick in people's mind. I fully understand that. Yes, you have to quote numbers. I have to quote numbers. But if I'm competing against another lender, I also want to know what that lender is quoting in writing. Not, well, they said they could do this, or Joe Blow down the street can do that. As we all know, everybody's got a story to tell,
So get them off of the rate and get them into a lender to talk about what their options are, right?
Without a doubt.
Okay, and then here's a good point. Property management, I do property management, and you'll sit down and you'll talk to somebody and they'll go, what do you charge? What's your percentage? And you tell them X, and they say, well, so-and-so will do it for Y. But they don't compare apples to apples. They look at the rate, the percentage that you're charging, but they don't look at all the other fees that are being charged. So typically, somebody that gives it a lower rate is charging a lot more fees behind. So it's about comparing apples to apples, and that's why Tony's saying, in writing, they can look at it, they can advise and help, is this a good loan or is this isn't, or how can we beat this, right? Tad?
Yeah, Tony, first thing, going back to the new homes, Prosperity saved my client with Richmond Home, just because I was on Richmond, like, you know, they don't like me, right? Because I'm on it, you know. And their lenders couldn't close the deal on time, so therefore, my buyer wasn't going to qualify because he's going from employment status to retirement status if we didn't close right on time, and then in different pay grades, right? So Prosperity jumped in. Richmond allowed Prosperity to get involved because their lenders were like, we can't close this on time. And we were still able to get the same benefits and everything, and Prosperity saved the deal, right? My buyer has his place, everything good. My question to you, Tony, is what is the percentage that you're giving back to buyers, especially like, you know, when they're bidding new homes for closing costs?
Yes, good question. Didn't I just avoid giving out specific numbers? we, as a general rule, we will credit the borrower 1%.
Okay.
1% of the purchase price.
Yeah, that's nice.
Now, I know sometimes the builders will throw out numbers that are higher than that, and there's a thing called steering that's been going on for a number of years, where they can offer the granite countertops or the gold faucets or whatever it might be, and unfortunately, I'm all out of granite countertops and faucets right now. But there's always ways to sweeten the pot. I've taken a reduced compensation to me and provided a credit to the borrower in that same scenario that you're describing.
But 1% you'll get back.
Correct,
So
correct.
that's nice.
It's nice that you're willing to go above and beyond, but you guys don't beat the lender up on their fees. I mean, he'll do what it takes to make a deal work, just like I know you guys will, but you all work hard and allow people to get paid if you can, okay? Any parting words on the market advice, stuff like that? See, this hour went fast.
Oh, it is over. No, just for me, it's about going out and finding buyers and sellers that need to buy or sell, not the ones that are testing the market, not the ones that are fishing, not the ones that are like, oh, I heard I can get more money for my house than I ever possibly. Look, it's about finding people who want and need to sell. They have a reason to sell, and it's an actual question we ask in our listing presentation and in our buyer consultation. And it's tell me why you're moving. Like when someone tells me they're going to move, I'm like, why? Why on earth would you move? Do you understand what that means? You got to box up all your stuff. People are going to touch your stuff that you don't know. You got to move it. You have to unpack it. You got to clean. Why would you want to do that? What's wrong with the place you have? Oh, well, we have to move because of this. Okay, when I hear that we have to move because of this, those are the buyers and sellers I want to work with. It's all about motivation.
Tony, parting words?
No, that pretty much sums up where we are. Again, I would encourage you to have your borrowers look at the adjustables, especially if they're getting used to seeing and hearing higher rates. That lower rate with an adjustable just might make the difference. It might be more attractive to them. It also might mean that they qualify for that property, whereas they wouldn't necessarily qualify with a higher fixed rate. So just something to think about like that.
Christine, parting words?
Yes, it would be great if we realtor push up for our commission, because the commission, I mean, maybe now they need us to buy and sell, and we can raise it up.
All right, we can say that because we're all one company, but work hard out there, get paid for it. Here's the thing. None of us have a crystal ball, but you can feel that there's a change amiss out there, and whether it's a big change, a bad change, a good change, whatever, just know markets change, right? And it's the ones that adapt to the changes and adapt the quickest are the ones that survive and prosper the most. All right, it's here. It doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It doesn't mean we're all going to go broke. It doesn't mean there's going to be a mass exodus of Vegas or anything like that. But just all I want to do today is get you to think about what's going on out there so that you guys can kind of put some of your own opinions together and you can have discussions with buyers and sellers and educate them on what you know so that they can make the best decisions possible for themselves, right? Any questions or anything before we go?
Yeah, the housing market will survive. We just don't want to run out of water. That's the bigger issue.
Yeah, that was on my list. There are water issues and they're working on that stuff. One of the things that I'm hearing rumor of is pool size restrictions in new construction and stuff like that. So keep your ears open to that. Pay attention to what's going on legislatively. It's going to be a big legislative year with talks of rent control and all kinds of stuff. Be in the know. So again, you can make good decisions for your business and educate your clients properly. Short-term rentals. I mean, D-Day is coming for Clark County to put out their stuff. I know they still don't want to do them, and I hear rumors that it's going to be very, very strict on that stuff too. So watch for that stuff as it comes out too, because you're going to have questions on it. Because when they hear that short-term rentals are legal, it doesn't mean they're legal for everybody, and it doesn't mean that everyone's going to be able to do them. So educate yourself on all that stuff, and we'll continue to bring you the information we know. All right, thanks for attending, and go out and sell something.
And bring the coffee and I'll go shopping for VA rep.
And it's time for shopping.
orientation today. Yes, yeah, we're doing it here.